Hi, welcome to Blogging Heads TV. You're watching Culturally Determined, and I'm your host, Aryeh Cohen-Wade. And my guest today is Jesse Farrar. Jesse, could you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, Jesse here. It's just me, just Jesse. I do some stuff online. I'm on the computer too much. There's the cat.
Yep.
So that's just me. I'm just a big computer guy. So hello, thanks for having me on the program.
So you are the co-host of the podcast Your Kickstarter Sucks.
That's true.
With Mike Hale, which is a very funny podcast, and we're going to talk about that a little bit in our conversation. But what made me want to talk to you this week was you did a tweet that led to a weird series of circumstances in which it's very probable that Donald Trump, the president, now knows who you are. And I know for a fact that Chuck Woolery, former host of Love Connection, is that the name of that show, that game show he hosted? He knows who you are because he was tweeting about you today.
Right.
So the background to this is there's this guy named Charlie Kirk, and he has an organization called Turning Point USA, and he is basically it's like a political nonprofit that supports conservatives in college. And he did a tweet that so one of his big things is conservative students are being discriminated against and conservative views aren't allowed on campus. So
right.
He's done a lot of weird stunts, one of which involves some college students dressing up in diapers. So he's really become like a target for people to mock on Twitter because he encourages conservative students to feel a lot of grievance and to do these weird stunts that are going to take off on social media, but sometimes they backfire, like when this 20-year-old man was walking around in a diaper and claiming that he was acting like a triggered snowflake or something like that.
Yeah.
So he did a tweet that read, I get countless of messages, so he didn't edit this tweet very well. I get countless of messages from students who say professors are lowering their grades and penalizing them for being conservative. Leftists dominating higher education represent a grave threat to our country and culture. Conservative students shouldn't be targeted for disagreeing. And then you did a tweet. So can you talk about what happened next?
Yeah, man, I was just sitting around. I was getting into the. I think I've said this already, so it's not a big reveal. So this is not a scoop for you, but I will occasionally drink during the day. So I was getting into the Kettle One a little bit. Just having a computer relaxing time. Stressed out, just pissed off, just like general malaise of just being like a jerk who's mad at stuff all the time. I don't know. I don't follow him. I don't know how I saw it or whatever. I was just like, I'll say something awful to this guy, which, that's not really defensible to say. What's defensible, I think, the specifics of what I said are defensible, right? I said, they shouldn't do that. It's wrong. So then I twist it. You got to put the joke on the end of it. And the joke on the end of it was that they should drown the students instead of changing their grades.
So I have your tweet here. So you wrote, they shouldn't do that. It's not right. They should hold the conservative students' heads underwater until they stop breathing instead.
Right. Yeah, so that's classic joke structure,
Right.
The zig and the zag. I guess on a more on a sincere political level, I wouldn't say I advocate wanton murder, but so many conservative policies essentially amount to wanton murder. So I don't think it's totally out of bounds to make a morose joke poking at that. Just to name a few examples, of course, the health insurance debacle, means testing for food stamps, all this kind of stuff that maybe doesn't literally come by and drag a poor person out in the street and shoot him in the face, but not completely outrageous to suggest there are parallels, right?
And the joke you made was a lot like waterboarding, which is something that during the Bush administration a lot of conservatives supported and argued for. And
sure.
Donald Trump, I believe, said something like, we should bring back waterboarding and a lot worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a legitimate backbone to that being a joke that you can make sort of as a scathing criticism of right-wing politics in general. But also I was just fucking around and I was bored and I just wanted to piss this guy off. And that's the part that's not defensible, I think. Just like as somebody who's a dad and like a married man, and I've got like other people in my life that don't go on the computer all the time. Like at a certain point, I got to stop like fucking around on the computer and telling people to eat my ass and stuff. Like I don't know when I'm ever going to do that, but at some point I should stop doing it because there are other people that depend on me to not do that stuff, and I feel like I'm letting them down.
Yeah.
But also sometimes you got to go on the computer and tell this guy that he has a weird little shrimp dick and he looks like shit. So, I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I it's between a rock and a hard place here with these guys. But I think it's fair to do. I think what really got him incensed was, of course, the fact that I have the blue check mark, which, as everyone knows, is like stupid. It means nothing. You just hit the correct sequence of buttons on a form and you get it.
The way Twitter treats blue check marks is totally illogical. They see it, they claim it's just a way to prove that someone has the identity they say they have, but really it gives a aura of legitimacy to them, and they've taken away blue check marks from people who are right-wing extremist types. So it's kind of like, it's become to be seen as like Twitter saying you're an okay person when there are people who are members of the American Nazi Party who get verified and
it's like, I mean, but that's not just like a superficial problem either, to take a quick detour. That's not like a superficial issue they're dealing with, because it's a legitimate problem inherent to a communications platform, right? Like, if your goal is to say, let's make sure that the people are getting their news from real places, like, I don't know how big of a basketball fan you are, but Adrian Wojnarowski is like the preeminent NBA reporter. This past week was the NBA trade deadline, so there was tons of transactions coming and going, right? Mm-hmm. So there are also, in the wake of that, fake accounts. They're called fake Woj accounts, and they have like the same picture, and they'll have like a really vaguely Polish sounding last name or whatever, and they'll like make the I and L or whatever. And just type out silly trades trying to get traction in blogs and tweets and other stuff like that. So, like, if your goal is to say, well, it should be clear when, when Tyreek Evans has been traded and when Tyreek Evans has not been traded, if that's your goal as a company, then there is some utility in saying, okay, like, this is the real Wojnarowski and this other guy is just some guy trying to get some laughs online.
Yeah.
But is that what Twitter is supposed to be? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's complicated. I mean, Twitter is such a weird, like, freak accident of the internet. Like, Facebook makes sense and Google makes sense, but Twitter is just this bizarre, like, outcropping that was not used for its intended purpose. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about Twitch, something not being used for its original intended purpose. But yeah, so it's the thing that the most powerful man in the world uses to communicate with the rest of the world, and then it's a place where people make absurd jokes and post pornography and argue with each other and pretend to be someone they're not.
It reminds me a little bit of Tumblr several years ago. Like, Tumblr was a weird place for a while where there would be both like legitimate websites hosted on Tumblr's platform, but then also like the absolute dregs of just bizarre porno, for instance, on there, and like Reddit essentially, but Reddit has had enough capital or enough visibility or whatever to create these little walled gardens that keep you out. Like there's a porno Reddit, there's a politics insane guy Reddit, and then there's like a normal, like, I'm just going on here to look at games stuff Reddit. Yeah. And I don't know how they've done that, but segmenting the website, like, I almost wonder, like, one day, is there a future for Twitter where the right-wing spin-off Gab, where it's free speech all the time, even though you can totally get banned from there too, of course, and no one uses it, including all the guys who made it, because they just go on Twitter and say, go check out Gab. Yeah. I'm sure it's a huge toilet, and I've never been over there and never will. But I just wonder if at some point Twitter starts making these little alcoves where it's like, okay, this will be the one where everyone on it is verified and it's read-only, Mm-hmm. Like, the main Twitter becomes a place where you have to be just have to be a neutral person all the time. And then maybe you have your personal Twitter, your shadow Twitter, your porno jacking off Twitter, your whatever, and it's just like it's these weird segmented things. Like, they don't have the infrastructure for that now because like managing more than one account is hell on earth. But I wonder if that's what eventually comes, because this is unsustainable where you're like giving check marks and taking away check marks. It's just so stupid, but you can't get rid of it because, like you said, Trump uses it, so it's like it's here forever now.
Yeah, I mean that's what when there are different segments of Twitter that exist in their own bubbles. There's like Democratic Socialists of America Twitter. There's Weird Irony Twitter, which we're going to talk about. There's right wing conservative nutso Twitter, and there's Donald J. Trump, President of the United States Twitter, and like New York Times and CNN Twitter. And then when these groups intersect, that's when like the craziness happens and people lose their minds. So you tweeted a joke about, conservatives should be drowned. And then Charlie Kirk retweeted that saying, interesting, at Bronzehammer, which is your Twitter handle, at Bronzehammer seems to call for the death of conservative students via waterboarding suffocation. I'm sure he was joking, but imagine if conservatives made a joke like that against liberals. And you replied, I am not joking. So, yeah. So why did you decide to write I am not joking?
Just pure meanness. Just to be a thorn in his side, just to make him go. Like Macaulay Culkin, like I just, because it's the thing about him and so many of his ilk is that it's completely performative. He's not so stupid that he read the first thing as a joke and then couldn't read the second thing as a joke. Like, you can't expect me to believe somebody like that is real. Like, obviously, if the first thing was a joke, I can say whatever I want. I can say it's like that old riddle. Like, one of these people is telling the truth, and one guy says I'm telling the truth, and another guy says I'm telling a lie. It's like watching a robot try to figure that problem out, and his brain explodes. Like, it's stupid. Obviously, I can say whatever I want and still be joking, even if I say I'm not joking.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like infantile, Like, my kids are capable of that kind of thought. So I don't believe that he believes that, and it doesn't. I mean, it ultimately doesn't matter because his goal is to get on TV. My goal was to piss him off. I think we both achieved our goals. So at the end of the day, I think we can shake hands and say, thank you for the transaction, and I will see you again in 1 month. Like, that's just all it is. Yeah,
that's interesting that it's a win-win. So you got suspended from Twitter for a week, right? Because of...
Yeah, I'm in timeout for a week now.
Twitter's... the way Twitter monitors people and says what counts as offensive, what counts as, threats of violence, which this tweet was joking about, threat of violence, are things that it takes more seriously. You also got in trouble a couple months ago when you tweeted something about Hillary Clinton being run over by a monster truck, and that pissed off a lot of the crazy dead-ender Hillary Clinton types who couldn't understand that was a joke also. But you posted screenshots showing that people had reported this tweet, and you got Twitter cleared you of all charges. I think that one was more of an absurd joke than this one. Or do you have any thoughts about why you got banned this time and not when you said Hillary Clinton should be run over by a monster truck?
Yeah, I think it's just a progression. I think this is the second time. I think the next time it happens, I'll just be kicked off forever. I think it purely has to do with the first time they made me delete it, but didn't ban me, and this time they're like, okay, you got to delete it, and we're going to suspend you. So I think that's just they're increasing the raps on the knuckles. I also think it's just like at a certain point it just reaches a level where they're gonna make you delete it no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. I think you could write poop on there, and people would. If you got 10,000 people to report you for it, eventually some guy's gonna go like, okay, Jesus Christ, I'll just make him delete the tweet. It's one button I click over here. I'm not. They're not my attorney, like they're not going to go to the mat for me on a fucking joke, so they'll just make me delete it, and it's fine. So it's just a critical mass, and I think that's what it was both times, because on both of them, actually, I got emails from Twitter saying, hey, we got a bunch of reports on this, just letting you know, but it's fine, so you can just keep on keeping on, and like pats me on the back, basically. But then, much later, then I'll log in, and I can't do anything until I delete the tweet, which... that's another part of the phenomenon is people getting really excited about having screen capped it and watermarked it and sending it back to me like I don't remember what I said or something like. Yeah, I mean, I wrote the motherfucking thing, so.
Right, and I had like the this a week ago, I had the first time I've ever gotten in any trouble with Twitter at all, and it was the lowest level of suspension. It said like some accounts, some parts of your account will be limited for 12 hours. And what I figured out, what I think happened was, it was when the stories first broke about this guy who works in the White House Porter who was, allegedly beat two of his ex-wives. So some guy at Vox or something tweeted like the article about this. I retweeted it saying, can you believe this guy is such a piece of shit that he works, but he works for the Trump administration, something along those lines. I used the word shit.
Mm-hmm.
And since the guy who tweeted the initial thing was a blue check mark, I assume the algorithm said, oh, shit, bad word, blue check mark.
Right.
So I'm sure no human actually read this, but it gave me the first level of timeout. So yeah, the site itself works remarkably poorly. And it just is so bizarre that it's a worldwide phenomenon that the president of the United States uses. It's totally bizarre.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, though, right? Like, I think that's why that's like, not to get too philosophical and navel gazing, but like that's like one of my main lessons of growing up. I'm 30 years old. My kids they're very young. They still have the glisten in their eyes, and it's like I'm trying to figure out at what point do I impart to them the information and the truth that everything you see as a structure that is used, by society, to the extent that you know about it, is just completely fucked up on the back end. Like, everything is fucked up. Nothing makes any sense or works right. It's purely by luck that any of the shit, functions even close to appropriately. Like, and it's getting worse because we're depending on tech so much, and there's so much fragmentation and, just people fucking off all the time that it's amazing that the toilet fucking flushes when you go to the bathroom. Like, we just live in this big trash dump, and I can't believe that anything works, and it seems like less and less is working all the time. So I don't know what it's going to be like when they're adults, but as a kid, you really do think, maybe this is trite, but like, you think everything works the way it's supposed to. People have what they're supposed to have. Adults know what they're doing. And just, it's so not even close to true. Like, it's not even, I don't even know if it's close to a percentage, a fraction of people who understand what they're doing. We're all just walking around bonking our heads on the walls,
Yeah. I'm reminded of something I think Tyler Cowen, the economist and blogger, said, that he thought the last great innovation was indoor plumbing, and that, that really changed the world. So our toilets work, and that's great that we don't have to, deal with our shit anymore, like some force that we had nothing to do with takes our poop away, and that is really great. But nothing since then has compared to that. So this little interchange between you and Charlie Kirk got written up by the Independent Journal Review. Is that what it's called? It's some right wing,
some shit like that
website. I think it's run by, or they hired this guy Benny Johnson, who was a multiple times he plagiarized, and he got fired from BuzzFeed, and then he, of course, because the conservative movement is a grift, he landed on his feet.
Right.
He's at this IJR place, so they wrote it up, and then Charlie Kirk was able to use that to get booked on Fox and Friends the next day. And Fox and Friends, as we all know, is the favorite show of Donald J. Trump, and he seems to watch it every single day. So there's Charlie Kirk talking about you on Fox and Friends. It's very likely Donald Trump is watching. Like, what was that experience like?
Well, so I haven't watched the thing because I don't even like to listen to my own podcast. Like, I can't even, like, I edit it and I just I don't like listening to myself talk. So, having somebody on there for 3 or 4 minutes talking about God knows what in relation to me and how I'm in ISIS or whatever, I don't think I could handle that. I could. I'm not gonna have a breakdown. It's just not very pleasant for me to do. I'd rather watch normal TV.
Yeah,
where I don't go crazy.
Charlie comes across like he's very serious. He's very somber. It's like, isn't it a shame that the national discourse has come to this level? And he's putting on his best act that he can, and the anchor is outraged, and then last 4 minutes, and they move on to the next thing.
And and that's a microcosm of how it's going to go. I think I'll probably now forever have weirdos talking to me and like sending me, memes of like Obama's a pedophile or something like that. I think people will be telling me that forever now, like I care, or that has any relevance or is true or anything like that. So yeah, that'll be it forever. For a few hours there, I was definitely worried that Trump was going to tweet about me. I don't think I would have liked that very much. I think I think Fox and Friends was more than enough. I don't think it needed to go any higher than that. I mean, I still don't think ultimately the result would be any different. It's like, what are they going to fire me from?
Yeah, so IJR, whoever this piece of shit reporter at IJR reached out to Deadspin, which you're an occasional contributor to or a former contributor to, because they want to get you fired. Like that's the whole. All of these things, like anything that happens now, if someone crosses some line, like the people on the other side are like, let's get this person fired, because that's like the only, there's no shame anymore, there's no embarrassment. But it's like the last thing they can do to you is make you lose your livelihood. So they reached out to the editor of Deadspin, who had a very funny reply, they're trying to, everyone is always trying to ruin someone else's life when they trespass in some way.
Yeah, we're all mad at each other all the time. So I get it. Like I get the impulse. I think. I don't know. I've never participated in that kind of like more literal than normally this term is deployed as a witch hunt. Like I don't think I've ever gone down the road of being like, oh, here's this motherfucker right here. Like he said some, it would have been like some kind of Nazi stuff, or he's some white guy who says he hates N-words, or, it would have been something like that would have made me mad enough to do it. But I've never done anything like that. But not out of like respect for some other guy's life, just out of like pure laziness, I guess, or the sense that like, why would anyone care? Like, I don't know. Like you call you gonna call the body shop that guy works at and say, hey, he said the N-word on Twitter, and the guy's gonna be like, oh, what is that? I don't know what that is. I have to work on a muffler for the next 4 hours. Like, so I don't know. I guess maybe that's ignorance on my part, thinking that there's like some clear delineation between Twitter and the real world. But there is. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, and yeah, so I get why they want to do it because they can score points off of it. Really, it doesn't matter what happens because they score the points either way. So either Barry Pacheski he writes back and like defends me to whatever extent and says fuck off, you're an asshole. Then so he gets that head on the spike, which is good for him. Or he gets my head on the spike and says, look, I got this guy canned, so that's good too. So it's like either way, they win. There's no lose because, like you said, there's no shame. So no one's ever going to say, really? Like, you really fucking called that guy? Like, you just clicked on his bio and you saw where he worked before, and then you fucking called those guys? Like, don't you need to go eat lunch or something? Like, that's what you do all day? No one's ever going to say that. So for him, it's a no-risk gamble.
Yeah, and this gets back to what you were saying earlier about this being like a bizarre win-win situation is the guy who, the like 23-year-old conservative reporter who wrote that article where he probably wasted like at most 45 minutes on it. He is happy now because something he wrote ended up getting on Fox and Friends. And I mean, are you kind of happy about how this all played out? Like more people know who you are now. Does this help you in any way, or is this just like a nightmare?
I don't know. I don't really care. We got more subscribers on the Patreon page. I got more followers on Twitter. So to the extent that those are like worthy goals but I'm not pursuing those every day. So I guess if that was like, if that's what I was consumed by, then I would definitely feel like, oh, well, I'll just do this all the time. Like, so it's fucking clear why anyone would become, like a Tommy Lauren, like an insane ideologue who just says stuff to get under people's skin. Like the motivation, the incentive is so real that people either like you because they like what you're saying, or they like you out of spite, or they hate like you, or whatever. But either way, it's like you're getting incrementally more famous with every other person you piss off. So if I wasn't so like lackadaisical about it, I'm sure I could capitalize on it and become a Chapo 2 or not even like maybe Chapo 6. Like, but
yeah, I mean, you could, if you wanted to, you could have made some free Jesse T-shirts and sold them for $25.
Yeah, just and say, okay, well, fuck the comedy thing. I'll just be like actually, to be frank, I've already said fuck the comedy. I don't know how to do comedy, so I don't know why I'm pretending like that's what I do. But yeah, I could just become a political guy because it's so easy to do anything in. You know exactly what everyone wants to hear at all fucking times, right? Mm-hmm. Like, don't you feel like like if you had like a top-down view of just the general city you live in, and you could just be like, okay, this guy's an alt-right guy, this guy's just a regular conservative guy, this lady is a Hillary lifer, this lady loves the DSA or whatever. Anywhere on that spectrum, you can just walk up and start talking to them, and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is the best thing ever. Because people who are into politics, do they have any other fucking interests? Jesus Christ. This is all they fucking think about all the time. And that's the nightmare to me. The nightmare is not, getting swept up in somebody's anger at me or getting used as like a punching bag or a trampoline for somebody to get on TV and get a little more famous. The nightmare to me is the world that we live in where everybody cares so fucking much about politics. And that's like my privilege as a white guy who's decently well off, that I don't have to rub two pennies together. But also just, man, it's exhausting to think about this being some people's lives, where they're just trying to figure out what I'm gonna get mad at next, or trying to figure out what who's evil next, like who's behind the scenes, like who's mastering the puppets and shit. Like, I can't do that for more than a day at a time before I get really depressed.
Yeah. I mean, there's something there's some core human characteristic that wants to like identify the tribal enemy, and then like join together to hate the tribal enemy. So you briefly became the tribal enemy for conservatives on Twitter, and everyone got to say how outrageous is it, how the standards, the values, the decency, like. Dear God, what are we coming to? These sicko libs are threatening our innocent little college students, and then they move on to the next thing, and and you are forgotten about. But you got some more Patreon subscribers, and so there's that. Why don't we talk a little bit about like weird Twitter, which I kind of associate you with, although you tweet under your real name.
Yeah, that's my first mistake.
Yeah, you're kind of your style of humor and persona to some extent intersects with weird Twitter. Is that where you would classify yourself or not?
I don't know. I don't think there's a good answer to that question. I go in there and talk to my friends. I definitely have a lot more friends on there than I used to, and so that's been good. So yeah, I think maybe to the extent that I feel like my tweet was not, a journalistic flag planting. I guess you could view it through the lens of I'm just on there joking with my weird Twitter buddies. So maybe I guess I would say the difference between my perception of it and the reality of it has narrowed this week, because I really do. I feel like it's the same like 30 people I talk to on there every day. So, so even though there's 1,000 times more people than that, looking at it, it still feels like there's like 30 people on there I'm talking to, and 29 of them are guys. So
and most of them have beards.
Yeah, they just look like us. So, so yeah, I think that maybe that gap is narrowing for me. So as far as like what faction I'm in, I don't know. I would much prefer talking about sandwiches than saying politics stuff. But I also don't want to tell my 6-year-old like the politics stuff either. So I have to put it somewhere. So I put it on there.
So do you one thing? So I started following a lot of weird Twitter accounts 5 or so years ago just because they were funny, and then this kind of weird interaction started happening between weird politics and weird Twitter and left politics. And there seems to be an alignment, and Chapo Trap House kind of came out of that weird intersection of people who like weird, ironic humor that's hard to define, and people who are in the DSA. Do you have any thoughts on why weird Twitter and left politics have aligned?
Nothing. Nothing good, like nothing smart to say about it. Just I think like you were saying earlier, we want to be a part of a tribe. So I think everyone has identified the club that they want to be in, and when there's a little bit of overlap in those clubs, it feels natural to go say pee pee poo poo at the DSA meeting, or to talk about healthcare in your group DM that's named pee pee poo poo. So I think it's I don't know why. You sometimes you see what I would describe as like really legitimate people like down in the muck with guys like me talking about stuff. So you kind of wonder what their deal is. But I guess the truth is, like, even if you are a serious person, you want to relax sometimes, and even if you are sort of a jokey person, you have serious thoughts about stuff too. We're all multifaceted individuals, except for the people who are like sending me Comet Pizza stuff all day long. I think that seems to be like their one thing, but we all have different interests.
The bizarre conspiracy theory called QAnon. I only glancingly understand it, but the Pizzagate thing has become a whole universe of conspiracy theorizing online.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a movie here soon, so I guess it was coming to theaters pretty soon. We'll check that out.
Let's. Well, one last thing. You did a joke, like, not a death threat, but you did a joke that involves violence. I'm sure you've received like actual death threats in reply to this, or like, I'm going to come to your house and beat you up. Like, what has that been like?
It's a real treat. No, it's not. It's not good to hear. I mean, of course I know that everyone, first of all, they don't live anywhere close to me. So, I mean, that's sort of a logistical hurdle for them to act out their weird fantasy. But of course, most of it is like, most of them just live in this weird kung fu world where it's like, okay, so he'll come at me first. Bam. I grab his arm. Bam. Drop to my knees, punch him in the groin like Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat. Rip his arm off like the deleted scene from The Force Awakens, the little Chewie and Unkar play. Like, they just fucking live in this world where it's like here's how I would boil it down is, so I said this incendiary thing, and then they say to me, well, how about you give me your address, and then you can try it on me, knowing that, of course, I'm not going to give them my address. But it's like, if you were serious about it, it seems like you would give me your address, because I've already made the first move, right? Like, I'm just trying to think this out from the point of view of somebody who actually wants to do me harm. Why wouldn't you just say, here's my address, the next time you're around, swing by. I'm always ready, apparently, because I'm just like out of my fucking mind. So just swing by, and then we can take care of this. I'll have the big bucket,
Yeah, the logistics of bringing the water with you, or you fill the tub, while you're both waiting there while the tub is filling up.
It's like a fucking Chicken Little situation. Like, you want me to do all the work? Like, I came up with the idea. Like, can you at least bring some of it to fruition, please? Because it feels like I'm carrying the bigger burden of this whole drowning in the tub thing. So there's only been one guy who gave me his address. And I had time. I just looked it up, and it's his mom's house. He's just some college kid, and so he's probably there like 2 weeks out of the year anyway. So, also weird impulse to give somebody who you're pretending you think is hyper violent your mom's address.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's what I would do necessarily, but anyways, it's all disingenuous, and I don't say that because I wish they were all serious, because I definitely don't, because there are enough crazy folks in the world to do, I guess, any number of things. But yeah, so I don't take it seriously. I guess, but that's good though. I guess on balance, I'm glad they're sending me threats and not like knives in the mail or whatever. I'm glad it's that, but it's still not fun. I would like to get on here and I'd like to click on my notifications and somebody would be saying like, "Have a nice day." That would be better. But I guess it's not really going to be that.
Okay, let's talk about your podcast, your Kickstarter Sucks, YKS, as it's known. Well, so for people who haven't heard it, how would you describe the podcast?
The world's worst podcast is how I would describe it. Mike and I are friends. We've been friends for several years. I knew him from Twitter first. Twitter's dog boner. And I knew him and thought he was a really funny guy. And it just so happened he moved down here a couple years ago. So, I just forced my way into his life. And now I keep him blocked off from everyone else. Make sure he doesn't get any more friends, because he's my meal ticket. That's the way I see it. So yeah, we do YKS. We shoot the shit. We hang out. We're both family mans, so we get together on the weekends, have a couple of beers, get to talking, and then it's right into the weirdest, the wackiest, the worst thought out, the scammiest, the ultimately not backing up what it was they promised Kickstarters that there are, and thank God, people. There seems to be no shortage of them. I kind of worried for a while we'd run out of them, but I mean, come on, there's no fucking way. I mean, you've got the $1 million security drone that flies inside your own house, which is fucking. Who would want that? I don't know.
Is that the one that you described looking like a trash can, or it was like the size of a trash can?
Yeah, it's just a massive trash can just waiting. You got a cat. Just imagine that just falling on your cat's head, and it's just over. So you've got that. You've got let's see. One we did this week was The Claw. But nothing particularly wrong with it. Seems to be a pretty well-made little, like simple machine type tool that goes on your key ring, smaller than a key. And it says there's so many different uses for it. You can open a paint can. You can open another type of can. You can open a tin. So it's like...
so it's the can opener reinvented. Is that what you're saying?
Is this a bad idea? No. Is it expensive? No. Are people going to get ripped off and lose their life savings on this? No. But just the marketing behind it is so weird and tortured. I can't imagine having to say with a straight face like how many different cans you can open. That's just so dumb. And then, of course, all manner of board games. We just recently did one where we gave away to a fan, and we haven't posted the episode yet. We haven't announced who it was, but somebody who subscribes to the Patreon, we're doing a new thing called the Gadget Hole, where we try out a Kickstarter that's actually been made, because, of course, so many of them never even come close. We actually get our hands on one that's in stores. We go buy it, we try it out, we review it, and then we send it off to somebody who subscribes. This past one was Bears vs. Babies, which is the second card game from the Oatmeal guy. Yeah,
so Exploding Kittens was his first one, which I've actually played. My nephew was into it, and I played a couple games. It was okay. I didn't want to play it again afterwards.
So you don't have the itch to play it. You don't have like a craving or anything.
No, I haven't felt the urge to go back to the Exploding Kittens universe, which is always expanding because there's like new packs you can buy. And
oh yeah, and yeah, I'm looking at this right now. This is going out to our lucky winner as well. It's the Not Safe for Work expansion pack for Bears vs. Babies. Just a really just like a limp dick effort. At making like 5 or 6 jokes spread out to 30 cards of just boobies or whatever, just infantile, just stupid crap. So that guy actually, he made a ton of money. He produced the game. He shipped it out early, even not just on time. But then you fucking get it, and it's just like, this sucks. This is boring. The jokes are stupid. I don't know who this is for. So there's so many different aspects we can criticize of somebody's passion project, and we really take that responsibility seriously. So
yeah, actually, the single one I thought was funniest was the first one I listened to. I'd seen people tweeting about this podcast, and it takes. You don't want to immediately jump into a podcast.
No,
because it's a whole commitment. So it was maybe episode like 17 or something, and it was the one that was called Bow to Tie. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that's the one where it's like a bully, it's an anti-bullying thing?
Or a child predator, yeah. It was this piece of foam that looked like a bow tie that the child would wear around their neck, and then if the child pressed the button, it would emit a like klaxon, like high-pitched sound in case the child went to the bathroom and a child predator followed them in there. And you could also get it, you can get like kind of customized, and one of the things it would say on it was, I love my grandma. I love my grandma,
because it was created by a grandma.
Yeah, so you can just imagine a 6-year-old walking around with a giant faux bow tie saying, I love my grandma, and if you touch the bow tie, it makes a very loud sound.
Yeah, as if that kid's going to get bullied. Yeah, right. Why would anyone pick on him?
Okay, so the origins of this series were a blog that Mike made originally, right? So how did you decide you wanted to turn this into take the podcast world by storm with this idea?
Yeah, we had a lot of arguments about it. Not arguments, because neither of us cares enough about anything to argue, but We had a lot of discussion. We knew we wanted to do something. I told him this will be fun for us to do, and so I was wrong about that part. Just I'll admit that was a mistake. I shouldn't have told him that because I couldn't back that one up. But yeah, we wanted to do something, and we originally thought, well, let's just get together and talk for a while. Which, I mean, as it happens, is essentially what it is. But as a premise, it's such a tough sell that I just thought there's no way we're even going to get out of bed if the gag of it is we're just going to sit around and talk. And also, that's no way to make anyone listen to anything. That's stupid. You know, you've got this proven concept here. People love laughing at stupid gadgets. And, you know, they also like kicking people when they're down, for sure. I know for sure. They also love scams. Like, you know, one of the ones we did recently was the Lavi water enhancer thing. So instead of a filter product, it uses UV light. So is there anything wrong with that in principle? No, because it's meant to take water from your tap and make it a little bit cleaner. Okay, so there is a world in which that would work, right? But they also wanted to do the thing where they give one away to charity or nonprofit as well. So they want that feel-good thing like Casper does, I know, or Lisa, or, you know, a lot of the Warby Parker, like a lot of the internet companies do this thing. It's a good hook. So they want to do that too. So then they've got this picture of these like people. I mean, for all intents and purposes, looks like it's Africa. And they show these people like grabbing water out of looks like maybe like a foundation for a house that wasn't ever built or something, and it's like collected rainwater or whatever, right? Okay, so they're real hard scrabble life. They're reaching down in there with their buckets and pulling this water back out. The thought being, oh, we'll give them this product that works using only the sun. So it ends up being this little wooden wine rack looking thing. You stick this proprietary bottle in there. It's got this aluminum foil looking back end that's meant to reflect the sun into the water to clean it, right? Okay. So here's the problem with that. You've just got open air water just sitting out in the middle of the African desert, and the sunlight is not going to remove the cow shit and the bugs and the dirt and all the stuff that these people actually would want out of their water. Like it can't purify water. What it actually does is it takes chlorine out of the water, or it breaks that's what sunlight, the UV rays break down chlorine into its constituent parts, right? I'm not a fucking scientist, I don't know, but that's what they say it does. It takes the chloride or whatever the fuck it is out of if my wife hears this, she's going to lose her mind because she's a chemist and she knows all about this stuff, but I'm just a big dumb guy. I'm just reading the copy. So the point of it is we actually put that stuff in the water to keep it clean while it's en route to our houses, right? So all they're doing is reverse engineering like the one part of our water system that only we have, and then sending these other people that need, filters for water, among other. They need good quality potable water for everything they do, and they can't fucking use this thing. It's like a huge scam. They've got all these awards like for engineering and CES innovation awards and all this crap. It's just junk. It's just junk, and it's going to get made now. They've made $73,000 off the scam. So just shit like that sucks. It just pisses me off, So we gotta say it sucks.
Yeah. So the podcast is hilarious. I encourage everyone to check it out. So you can look in iTunes. Your Kickstarter Sucks, and you guys are on. You have a Patreon with exclusive episodes also, and you're on Twitter. Right. There's something about Kickstarter itself that and the bizarre parts of Kickstarter that you highlight that's very American to me. Like America's a very entrepreneurial society, and everyone feels like they can they have some idea within them that can make them a millionaire. But right. We're also a country of self-delusion, and we're a country of grifters, and we elected the biggest grifter of all time to become our president, so that was somewhat appropriate. But all these things, there's people who have a dream, and they've been working on a cup that looks like a ram's horn or something, that for some reason you would want this thing that is a cup that you can't put down flat on a table, right. Kind of the main point of a cup. Right. But that was a huge success, and somehow it takes off.
Massive.
And and then there's people who just are running weird scams on it, and that seems very American to me as well, just fleecing people of their money.
Yeah, the ones I try not to put on there are the ones that are, like you said, delusional, unless they're delusional in a funny way. Like I came across one when I was researching for the last episode. It was, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's essentially like TaskRabbit, except for cleaning services only. And just by the way it was written, it made it seem to me like this guy cleans houses, or his family cleans houses, or whatever. And he wanted to come up with this app as a way to like jumpstart not only his business, but to become, an entrepreneur, to become, fucking rich like everybody wants to be. But there's no idea there. It's just like, it would be cool if there was a app for cleaning a house, and you would just push a button, and then they would come clean your house. Oh, and also we'd do a background check, of course, because you don't want just anybody in your house. Like very like written in crayon style sketch out of what this idea would be. And there's something so torturous, but also ultimately satisfying about seeing that, and then thinking about the ways in which, first of all, it's a failure just by design. It makes no sense. It could never take off in any way. And it was a waste of time to even write down. But then, like, thinking about how little separates that from the companies that are the thing he's trying to imitate, which, as I was alluding to earlier, are often, like, full of morons. They have no clue what they're doing. They're flying by the seat of their pants. They're trying to steal as much as they possibly can before it all goes under. Like Uber and Snap, Airbnb, like all these things are just run by total idiots who are trying to just grift as much as they possibly can in the short time that they know they're going to be on top, so they can live the rest of their lives without having to fucking do anything worth a shit. So, on the one hand, you make fun of this guy for having a stupid idea, but then you're also making fun of, the economy in general that rewards everyone's stupid fucking ideas. So it's like, well, I get where he's coming from, because all it takes is one stupid idea, and then you're like the king of stupid ideas. You get to send a fucking card to the moon for no reason.
Yeah. Do you see the show as like a critique of capitalism in some way?
I guess it is. People write in and say, yeah, this is a good critique of it, or whatever, but we don't come at it with that. We don't try to do that. It just is what it is. Like you see enough fucking doodads in a day, and eventually you don't really have to think very hard anymore about why these people keep making the doodads. It's pretty obvious why they do it. It works. So yeah, like we don't sit down, we don't say all the big words. I don't know what praxis means still. So we don't know any of that stuff. But yeah, like it doesn't take too much scratching to reveal like what the real fucking problem is. And ultimately, it's not people trying to make a buck. It's that they have to go on here to make a buck in the first place. And, that doesn't even touch on Kickstarter's, the actual website, the people behind this company, like in their fucking scam, which is, essentially advertising these half-baked ideas, but then also never having any kind of responsibility for them either. So,
and taking a cut if it is successful.
Yeah, or even if it's not. Like, there's a meta grift involved in just the website itself that you barely even think about, because there's just so much other shit on it that it's hard to blame them, because they didn't make the stupid rocket skates or whatever.
Yeah, so it's the funniest podcast I listen to regularly. Everyone should check it out.
Thank you.
If you like things that are funny. Let's talk about another part of your media empire, which is Go Off Kings, which is a Twitch streaming channel. So what is Twitch for people who have never heard of it?
I don't know. If somebody knows what it is and they can tell me, that would be great, because I have a very cursory understanding of what it is. The way I understood it was originally designed as, or became to be, a place where you would go watch other people play video games, which is, that's as dumb as it sounds.
Okay, well, let me jump in here, because I have a weird personal connection, which is that I went to college with some of the guys who founded Twitch.
Oh, okay.
And it started with a guy named Justin.
Justin TV, right?
Yeah. So he came up with the idea in like 2005 or 2006 to stick a camera onto a hat that he wore at all times. So he was like one of the very first live streamers, and it was a stunt, but it attracted attention. And so this was like around the time YouTube was coming out, so video on the web was still pretty novel. And then they expanded Justin TV to be like something anyone could live stream. So it like let you live stream. And then they realized that the thing that people really liked was, well, they liked when someone would have a pay-per-view sporting event that they
Right.
got to watch for free. So they prevented you from doing that, but they liked watching other people play video games.
Yeah.
So they backed into this idea totally accidentally, and someone who I knew fairly well in college is now very, very wealthy because of this. They sold to Amazon for $1 billion, and
Yeah.
it was totally. It was a good idea, but it wasn't one they set out to do, and it happened bizarrely and accidentally.
Yeah, which is like that's exactly what I was saying. Like if somebody did that now, I mean, of course they'd be 20 years too late. But I mean, at the time, it had to be so stupid for the guy to wear the camera. Like, dude, nobody cares about you or what you're doing. It's so dumb. And that's correct. Like, nobody does care about that guy. Like, he wouldn't. It's not like he's still doing that now, right? Like, he's not still walking around with the camera on his head. But he was also right in that there is some kind of. I don't know if they created the niche or if it just happened in tandem with it. But yeah, playing the video games on there is something people do. You can watch a speed run of somebody playing a game very fast. You can watch somebody playing a game that you can't afford or you've got locked up in your attic somewhere you just can't get to anymore. I think it's obviously very personality driven. So, to the same extent that the news media is, like we were talking about, people will go on there and say outrageous things on purpose because it gets them attention one way or the other. Either way, it's good.
Yeah, so that bizarre guy, PewDiePie, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
He was doing a stream. I can't remember if it was on Twitch or YouTube, but he decided it would be funny if he shouted out the N-word as, like, instead of saying, oh my god, when he lost a round or something, he shouted the N-word and he got in a lot of trouble for that. So some of it is like, outrageous personalities being outrageous, and having teenagers watch them.
The Dr. Disrespect guy, who cheated on his wife and then cried on the stream because he was messing up so bad, and now he's back. And somebody told me that he has like thousands of dollars like per tip. Like people will tip him like $10,000. So yeah, it's personality driven as well. As we were talking a little bit about before we got started, it's now become they got Twitch IRL now, which is just it's a great platform for what could essentially be what he started out doing, right? Which is like, I'm on my way to work, like da 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 da. But in practice, of course, it's like extremely gorgeous women, like putting makeup on or painting their chests, which is the way that's what I've seen it as. Is it's like I'll draw like an avatar on my boobies, is what I've seen, or I'll sit here and I'll answer the phone in my underwear or something, and that gets gamers so mad, which is even funnier. So. I think it's great. So you can subscribe to them and they'll wear panties. So the Go Off Kings, so we don't wear any panties on ours. It's just, it's me and, Rob Wisman and Stefan Heck, and we shoot the shit for a while. We have, essentially technical difficulty after technical difficulty.
Well, part of it is, are you still like trying to play the worst video games ever? Is that part of the...
Well, we've actually gotten like legitimate computers now. So that was sort of a restriction of the medium at first, is that all I had was a Mac. So I was playing emulators and stuff. So we'll still boot up some crappy emulator games. From time to time, we were also playing the quiz game, so the audience, the people watching, can jump in and play with us as well. But yeah, we have started playing Fortnite. I think the twist is not necessarily as much we'll play really bad games. It's more like we'll play good games just like so badly that like you can't even fathom somebody would be this bad at playing a game. We're just awful. Like just even the basics of it are so difficult for us to grasp, especially because we're actually talking the entire time. I think a lot of times you'll watch a game stream and you'll be like, oh, this guy's really concentrating on Zelda or whatever. So every now and then he'll pop up and say like, ooh, didgeridoo, or whatever the fuck people say when they play Zelda. I don't know. But we're having continuous conversation the whole time and monitoring the chat, talking to each other on the webcam, and then I'm trying to play the first person shooter. So like, I'll be talking to Stefan, and Rob will be telling a story about one time he was really high and went to the movies. And I'll tell somebody in the chat to stop roasting that guy's lunch picture, and then I'll look over and I've been shot in the head for like 5 minutes. So that's essentially the hook of it. Is you can see like three. Sometimes Mike will come on as well if he's over here. We're sitting around shooting the shit. His pig Pickles will come on. We'll talk to Pickles.
Oh, I didn't realize Pickles made made appearances.
Oh yeah, we've got the custom pickles emote. If you subscribe, you get to use all our emotes from Pickles the pig to Asuka the cat to me when I was really pink one time. I turned the gamma all the way up on the camera and became pink Jesse. So it's just a hoot, man. We do it oh shit, what is today? Monday? Okay. We do it Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 7 Pacific time. So also you can probably add like 20 minutes to that for us to figure out how to do the webcams for a 1 millionth time. But yeah, it's a fun diversion that we all enjoy.
So the people who invented this are exactly my age. I'm 35. I feel like this is like a generational divide in that I see like no appeal whatsoever of watching people play video games. I don't play video games myself. There's people older than me who are serious gamers. Even though I love YKS, watching your version, which is like a weird Twitter bizarre parody of this thing, it's almost like I have no affinity or connection for the underlying thing, so it's just kind of mysterious to me. Like, are the fans mostly like teenage boys? Like, who is chiming in?
No. I think we'll go on there. We'll have 300, 400, 500 people. Some of whom are stopping in for the first time, some of whom come to it organically because we're like on a list of top whatever streamers of this particular game. They'll click on and go through it that way, and they'll get on there and go like, what is this? You guys suck at this, and then they'll leave, or they'll say this is funny, I'll stick around. But yeah, just people from Twitter, people we know and talk to all the time, go and talk to us on there. It seems like an extension of that site,
Mm-hmm.
to a certain extent. So I don't know. I don't think you don't have to like games to like it, because, to be honest, I don't know how much I like games anymore either. I have very little, I don't have the attention span for it anymore. I like to get in and do like 5-10 minutes and then get out. And maybe over the 2.5 hour stream, we play about 10 minutes a game. So it works out pretty great for me.
And is it always you playing? You're kind of like the performance, like make Jesse dance kind of thing?
Yeah, sometimes it is that. They like to throw tomatoes at me, virtually. But no, Stefan and Rob have gotten a rig as well. Rob is like, I don't know. You ever seen what happens when an inside cat goes outside? You ever seen?
Okay.
You ever fucking seen that thing where they get out, they meow, 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 and finally they walk out the front door, and then a car goes by and they just like shit themselves in terror?
Uh-huh.
So that's sort of like Rob when he gets on the computer to play a game, and so that's fun in its own right. And Stefan is actually competent. He loves Hearthstone and like the card games. Like, he knows all that shit because I don't think he's that much younger. I think he's like 29, but he looks like he's 10 years younger. So maybe that helps him like pick up that kind of stuff. So he's like the expert.
So check that out. So is it just twitch.tv/GoOffKings?
That is us, yeah.
So check that out if this appeals to you at all. There's one last question that I want to have for you. You have like this weird position that you occupy in like the funny people online space, where it's like you're almost like a mascot or like a punchline. I don't know how to define it. Like, you're not a mascot. That's like offensive, but like,
I would say like, punchline is more offensive than mascot, but yeah.
Well, people are just like, they'll include your name in a tweet, and that's like the funny part. I don't understand it entirely. There's some funny photos of you, like one where you're holding 2 cups at a time.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about this or understanding of it?
Not a lot, man. I don't know. I think it'll pass. It takes a little bit longer to get over than the outrage over the stuff I say, for sure. I think maybe my name just sounds a little funny. I think that I know enough people and like am friendly enough with enough people on Twitter, talk back to them enough and stuff that they felt like okay, well, it's like he'll tolerate like me making fun of him. I don't know. I'm personal on there a lot. Like, it's not just I'm struggling to think of like somebody who tweets completely anonymously. Take Drill for instance.
Yeah.
There's no way to know how much of what Drill says is representative of him or a real thought or whatever. It's there's so much narrative or extemporaneous like gag built into it that you can't figure it out. But for me, for the most part, like, everything I say on there is true. Like, if I say I just dropped a big bunch of macaroni on my fucking foot and it's I got to go to the hospital or something. I mean, that's probably true. Like maybe I didn't go to the hospital, but I probably did drop the macaroni and cheese on my foot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, so I think the fact that I say stuff that's actually real, and maybe I say it in a funny way sometimes, and combined with the fact that, you know, I'm just sort of like a chubby, like, like Ophi kind of guy that you can, you know, elbow around and stuff. Yeah, people seem to like to use my name like that, and I guess they'll probably get over it. I mean, people are already mad about it. Like, people are telling me that it's my fault, and so
Yeah, that's the funniest reaction where people are like, why the fuck is Jesse Farrar? Everyone was talking about Jesse Farrar.
man, like I don't know, man. I'm just trying to hang out. Like I'm watching a movie. I don't know. You can't ask me all this stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I thought that my theory was that you just seem really nice, so people want to use because so many people online are like nightmares, and you seem just
yeah.
generally like amiable and affable that people.
That's
have
cool.
turned
I
that
don't know
into a
how I
joke.
pull that off because like my reputation in real life is that I'm like an asshole. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I need to figure out how to meld those two parts into like a one decent personality, but I haven't. I don't know how to. I'll work on that maybe like for the next 30 years. That'll be my project.
Okay, so thanks so much, Jesse. You are on Twitter at Bronzehammer. Your Kickstarter Sucks and Go Off Kings are your current projects,
Yeah.
so people should definitely check those out. I hope you get out of how many more days do you have in Twitter jail?
I don't know. I get reminded every time I click like follow or like on somebody and the thing comes up and says like 2 days. So I think I have like 2 days left maybe and some hours and change. So I'll be back on there by midweek, I guess, and I'll say the thing about the macaroni on my foot.
Okay, so everyone can look forward to that. I'm on Twitter at REACW, ARYEHCW. People can subscribe to Blogging Heads or this show in particular in iTunes or other Google Play, other places where they get podcasts. So thanks so much, Jesse. Thanks to all of our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was a lot of fun. It was good talking to you.